Origi! Yeah! He's doing it! Yeah! Unbelievable!
Hello and welcome to the Liverpool Way podcast. We're coming to you just after a welcome away win at the London Stadium. Rarer still, the Reds came from behind to beat West Ham 2-1 with a great strike from Gakpo and a bullet header from Joel Matip, cancelling out Paqueta's opener. There was controversy at the end over a potential hammer's pen, and David Moyes was left with a big smart snarl on his face. 'Twas ever thus. To talk over this one, I've got another grumpy David, Mr. Usher, the editor at liverpoolway.co.uk, and the pride of South Wales, Julian Richards. Dave, I know it's not saying a lot, but in terms of away performances this season, this was actually pretty good at times.
Can I just start by saying I'm not grumpy whatsoever? It's a great result tonight. Forest winning. Everton down to second from bottom. I'm not grumpy at all tonight. Plus the Reds won as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Secondary consideration.
That... yeah, right. Welcome to the Everton Might Get Relegated podcast. I can't believe I didn't build that into the intro. I'm going to get fired from this job.
Yeah. I know, you buried the lead. No, it was good tonight. It wasn't brilliant. There's still like things to work on, obviously, but it was a lot more good than bad. A lot of things in there to, be encouraged by. The penalty thing at the end. I mean, if West Ham want to feel unlucky, well, look at the disallowed goal, which is like a marginal offside. That you're unlucky there. You're not unlucky with the penalty. That's not a penalty. The rules of the game say that's not a penalty. So if that had been given, it would have been a scandalous decision. Maybe in the past, you can say it's 50-50, it'd go either way, but you can't give penalties for that anymore. If it hits a part of the body and then bounces up and hits a hand, they're not allowed to give penalties for it. So Moyes can cry all he likes about that, but it's not a penalty. And they didn't deserve anything from the game anyway. We were the better side. Deserved the win. It wasn't vintage, but yeah, there's I thought Trent again. That's really encouraging, that role. I thought the first half especially, he was just out of this world. He was fucking sensational. Faded a bit as the game went on, and then I think he went to right back towards the end, didn't he? When we were just protecting what we had. So that was a real big positive. I thought Joel Matip had a great game, which is significant actually, because we all said if Konate's not there, what's that right hand side going to look like if Trent plays in the middle? And Joel just completely locked that side down. I thought he was really, really good tonight, and quite fitting that he got the winner. Other positives, I thought Curtis had another good game. Not spectacular, but he did everything well. Gakpo, some of the touches and just the link-up play from him in the first half, outstanding. And I think somebody probably deserves a mention here because he was sneaky good, and people probably won't talk about him. I thought Fabinho tonight had a really good game. So yeah, lots of positives. Some things to be concerned about. I thought Jota wasn't great. I thought Mo was awful. Maybe it's just me, but I thought he had an awful game. My boy comes off the bench and absolutely just stinks. So that wasn't great either.
Shocking.
And Virgil, he didn't have a bad game. He did some really good things. That goal line clearance, well, not a goal line clearance, but a goal saving clearance, that was really good. But a couple of other things, and you're just like, oh, fucking hell, that's not good. That's not what we're used to seeing from him. Well, maybe we are now, but it's not what we were used to seeing from him. Specifically the disallowed goal. Everybody knows that Jared Bowen is wanting to get on his left foot. Now, I know it's difficult, and defenders will often get done like that. You only have to look at how many goals Mo scores, and when Mo gets those goals, we're not looking at the defender and going, that's your fault, but that's because they're just defenders. Virgil is held to a much higher standard than that. And when you see that happening, you think that wouldn't have happened a couple of years ago. There's no way Jared Bowen is able to do that 2 years ago. So that's a little bit of a worry that we're still seeing things like that from him. But overall, yeah, many more positives than negatives from the performance. And it keeps the little run going that we've got. We're definitely better. I mean, we're not at our best by any means, but we're definitely better. There's things that you can see that we weren't doing for most of the season that we're doing now. Without the ball, we're much, much better than we were. There's more energy, the pressing's good, the counter pressing's good, we're hunting in packs. people are chasing, and when they do, like Curtis is chasing people across the width of the pitch and forcing them to knock it out for throw-ins. Stuff like that wasn't happening earlier in the season, but now we're seeing it, and the results have improved because of it, really, because it's not like our attacking play is great, but we look like what we were saying. I think this is the best way to sum this up, is for most of the season we were so fucking easy to play against. We totally lost that thing where we were the team nobody wanted to play, and we're not back there yet, but we're much more difficult to play against than we have been. So that's progress, I suppose.
Yeah, just on that point, certainly we haven't seen much of it this season. Especially in the first half, like West Ham really struggled to get out, and we've seen time and time again just how easy it is to play the balls out against us when we've been late into these challenges. And the defence was really high, and sort of Joel and Virgil winning the ball back, and like you say, we were hunting in packs and just not letting them get out. And it's not something we've seen enough this year, so that's a welcome return. Jules, excuse me, I know when we went 1-0 down, you were fearing a repeat of what we've seen like countless times, it seems like, this season, going 1-0 down away from home and folding, but the response tonight was good.
Yeah, this wasn't the usual away performance we've seen this season. As Dave said, it's not quite ourselves, but it's a bit more familiar than we've been seeing this season. Tempo was good, like for most of the game. I quite enjoyed the game. There's nothing riding on these games, whether we win, draw, lose at this moment. I don't really think we're catching the Champions League spots because United have 2 games in hand on us, and they're currently occupying 4th. So I don't think it's just about finishing the season strong now and gaining momentum. But ultimately, had we lost tonight, I wouldn't have been too disheartened because I just thought it was quite a good game. It was a bit open in the first half, probably more open than we would have wanted. West Ham were doing us on the break, but there's just more energy in the performances at the moment. I don't know why. It could just be the addition of the change with Trent's position and Curtis, who's barely played all season, now getting a run of games and he's full of beans. It could just be a confidence issue where we've put 3 wins together on the bounce. That draw against Arsenal where we sort of came back to life might have been the instigator. I'm not sure, but I came away from it at the end of the game thinking I've actually enjoyed the game this season. Yeah. I didn't quite enjoy the Forest game because there were so many lapses defensively, and they bullied us so much with that sort of League 1, League 2 long ball shit that you sort of came away from going I'm glad we've won, but I didn't quite enjoy that. But tonight I quite enjoyed the game. I quite enjoyed how we played. There's positives to take again, which is nice, instead of the incessant negatives that have been most of the season. I agree with Dave. I thought Mo was I've been playing a Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo recently, and there's a bit where you've got to hit a button and it reverses the screen, and that felt a bit like how Mo was playing tonight. It felt like everything he was doing was the opposite of what he should be doing.
Yeah.
But he does that sometimes. It's a bit weird. He is a bit weird like that. He's like this great player, this great goal scorer, phenomenal touch, and occasionally he looks like he's playing with shoe boxes on his feet rather than shoes. And he just seemed to make the wrong decision tonight. But I don't think that's anything to be unduly worried by. He's Mo Salah. He's still great.
Yeah. Hendo was bad as well. I forgot to mention.
Yeah, I think that's probably the 2 games in a week, right? Too close together. No, he can't do it anymore. And that's one of the reasons why we're looking to completely overhaul the midfield, because there's still a place for Jordan Henderson in this team and in this squad, despite what some weirdos on the internet and on the forum still think. There is still a place for him, but it's not every week anymore, and he's going to have to accept that. The commentators on BT were talking about Milner and another contract and that, and it's absolutely Milner should have another contract, and they were talking rather ill-informed manner about, it'll be up for the money, man. No, it won't. It'll be up to Milner. Go, this is the offer. You're not going to play as much. This is what we want you to do, and whether he wants to take it or not. And it'll be the same for Henderson. You're not going to play all the time anymore. You can't do it. It's just not feasible. And as Dave, I think it was you, Dave, mentioned, he's going to have to start thinking about whether he can play for England anymore. At this point, you have to make that consideration. Better players than him have retired at this point in their careers to save whatever's left of their club careers. And I don't mean save as in it's in jeopardy. I mean just keep that resource. Keep that resource for it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far, but
I would.
All right. Well, you just did.
I know, I was prepared to allow it while he was tapping up Bellingham, but if that ship sailed, then fucking Hendo's got no business being anywhere near the England squad anymore.
Well, he's had the World Cup. It's 2 years till the next tournament. So
why is he carrying on?
Yeah,
just to get more caps.
Needs to stop now.
It's certainly time to draw reserves of his playing career, and the one that pays the money of who he's the captain should probably be the priority.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see that in the summer. I don't know.
But Milner did that, didn't he? Quite early.
Yeah.
He jacked England in quite early, and look at
saw
him.
the writing on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Saw the writing on the wall, didn't he? And there is that thing.
Players that, well, he was one of those players that was always going to get picked in the squad because he's a good utility man, and like Hendo, like the top pro that all the young players look up to. So managers tend to keep him around. But he just kind of said no. I think he was about 30. It was years ago, wasn't it? It was like, was he even playing for us at this point?
No.
I think it was before he came here.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was about 30. 29, 30, yeah. Saw the writing, but he saw the writing on the wall. Yeah, no, he saw the writing on the wall and thought, well, that's enough of that. But ultimately, going back to the game tonight, I thought that was quite an enjoyable performance. Most of our away performances this season, as you said, we were 1-0 down, and I thought, all right, here we go. This is going to be the 2022-2023 away performance du jour, but it wasn't. We came back. Unfortunately, none of us do enough prep work to know how many times we've come back from a goal deficit this season and won.
None.
There you go.
I haven't done any prep work. It's a total wild guess, but I think I'm right.
You said it with such authority, though.
I know.
You should be on GB News with that kind of authority.
I was thinking,
no facts.
should have just bluffed my way through and like I'll say I've done research, but I thought no, I might be wrong. So
no.
But
the day you stop saying stuff with complete authority is.
It's when this is over.
Yeah, it's the day that Darwin comes off the bench and has a good impact as a substitute.
Oh, he's had plenty of good impacts as a substitute, but he did stink tonight. I can't deny that.
Well, that was something I was going to bring up next, actually, because Jules, you mentioned how much of an improved away performance this was, and I think one major aspect of this was how good our passing was tonight. Like there was plenty of zip about it, and like you said, the tempo was good throughout. And about 10 minutes to go, they brought up a stat on screen that said that we'd had 769 passes tonight, which was 3 times the amount that West Ham had, 89% pass completion. And I did do, contrary to popular opinion, we do a little bit of research. And I looked up.
You do. No, you do. Full credit to you. You always research. It's the rest of us who don't.
Because I don't have that unshakable faith in the fact that every word that comes out of my mouth is the God's honest truth. But City's season average, they're top of the league with 87.1. Our season average was 81.8% pass completion. But, by the time Darwin had finished, we'd probably got down to about our season average of 81.8. But Jules, up until that point, passing was fucking really good. Crisp, accurate, moving it quickly and getting us on the front foot again. I just thought that was a major element of why tonight was a successful outing for us. Yeah,
and is that because of Trent's new position in midfield? Is that because Curtis is playing? And Curtis is playing again. There's a lot of not a lot, but there's people who would deny that Jones maybe has a future here. If he plays like that, he's definitely got a future here. Whether it's as a starter or as a squad man, but. Even for, as Dave said, even Fabinho looked like he's been off the roast dinners and he's been on the salads and the lean chicken, the grilled chicken, and all that sort of stuff. It's
Special K.
Yeah. Although I suppose what we should say is obviously this doesn't detract from we still need the overhaul in midfield. Like it's good to be finishing strong, and we're experimenting with Trent's position. And it feels better, and it feels like there's some traction again, and that's what the whole rest of the season is about. It's not about where we finish in the league, Champions League wise. It's about traction, momentum going into next season, regaining a little bit of confidence, a little bit of identity. What do we want to do next season, and how do we want to build around it? So, taking all those things in, and you're right, the passing was crisp, but the tempo was great. We were winning balls back a lot more as well. When the press was not fully what it was, but we were doing it a little bit better. But we still need those midfield reinforcements, whoever they might be, for next season.
Can we circle back to that a little bit later? Because there's a point I want to make on that, but let's just stick to the game for now.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Well, I mean, we started really, really well, I thought, and it was kind of the same in both halves really. We'd started better, and West Ham got the first goal of the half. The second half one was disallowed, obviously, but Paqueta scores. He kind of waltzes past Trent and Hendo, and they plays a little 1-2 on the edge of the box. Nobody really gets anywhere near him. I mean, he unleashes a good strike. I think it takes a slight deflection off Virgil, but it's not very often you see Alisson beaten sort of that close to the centre of the goal. I just wonder whether the deflection put him off a little bit, but good strike. If we'd scored that goal, we'd probably be purring about the interplay and stuff, but it's definitely avoidable from our point of view, Dave.
Yeah, it's really good from Paqueta. Take nothing away from him. From our point of view, I don't think Hendo's covered himself in glory with it, and Alisson should save it. The deflection is not that. It's not that big a deflection. It doesn't change the direction of the ball sideways. It just kind of lifts it up a little bit. But the problem is, I don't know why he's done it, but Alisson goes to his left, and then he can't get back across. So it's not really the deflection that beats him. It's his own movement. So whether he was just expecting him to bend it in the far corner and then he's just leathered it on the other side, I don't know. But you never see Alisson getting beaten like that. So yeah, he should save that. But it wasn't just Alisson. I didn't think Virgil's attempt at a block was particularly great either. And
We've said that before.
Yeah, and Hendo was just kind of treading water, just not quick enough to stay with him. So yeah, bad goal from our point of view, but nice football from Paqueta.
Definitely. And thankfully, for a change, sort of before the rot set in, we responded super well. I thought we were quite positive, almost affronted that West Ham had scored, really. We upped the tempo a lot after that, and we got the reward duels from Gakpo after I think it was 5 or 6 minutes after West Ham scored. And he'd been dropping deep and sort of picking up the ball and had some nice interplay throughout the opening stages of the game. And he did it again here, sort of dropped in front of the D, picked it up, turns and lashes it in, and it was a really, really good finish. And I loved the celebration from him as well, sort of like a little defiant fist pump rather than going overboard. And I think, from my point of view, I think he's really starting to show us now in glimpses what he's going to do for us next season as our main number 9. Is that something that you go along with, or you're not quite
no
there
matter
yet?
how good he is, though, I'm still going to maintain he looks like a non-playable character in a video game. So as long as we're all clear on that, I'm all right. No, I agree with everything you said, though. The goal was weird because in initial, you see it and you think, why did it go in from there? That must have taken a deflection. And then when you look at it, it didn't take a deflection. It seemed like the skip off the turf was what did the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Very, very strange. But I suppose if the goalkeeper's not, fully set for it, doesn't expect it, and then it's from that distance, and it's with that accuracy, then I suppose, there's every chance that it'll end up in the back of the net as it did. Yeah, there's lots to like about Gakpo tonight. Again, were we a bit harsh on him earlier in the season when the rest of the team weren't playing it? Possibly, but you only react to what you see at the time. But there's a lot more. All of the forwards now, including Dave's Nunez. There's
Dave's Nunez.
Dave's. I mean, he cost 70 million quid, and yet Gakpo seems to have more about him. But let's not get into that. But what we've got there, including Jota, who seems to have come back into some goal scoring form, that maybe there's enough to go. All right, no, there's materials here. There's raw materials, Nunez, and then there's refined materials, Salah, to work with, to put something together, to move forward for next season. I thought Gakpo had a very good game. It's very heartening when he plays games like that, because you think, the Firmino-less future that we have is a bit scary, and then you see that and you think, well, he might not be Bobby. He's never going to have the eccentricities of Bobby and the sort of lovable rogue scamp sort of thing about him, but he certainly might well develop the refinement that we need.
I think that's a really important point, because while he does lack the exquisite little touches and the flair of Bobby, I think he doesn't. Perhaps he's safer with the ball, doesn't give it his way as much. He's more assured in possession, and his layoffs, ball doesn't tend to bounce off him, does it, Dave? It tends to control it and move it on really quick, and you don't see him give the ball away very often.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby at his absolute best doesn't give the ball away very often, and the ball sticks to him. But when Bobby's not at his absolute best,
That's latter stages Firmino, right?
latter stages, as in like last 3 years, barring like the games when he's been really good, but more often than not, he's not been as secure with the ball as he used to be. Whereas I'd say Gakpo is more secure in possession. Obviously, he's stronger as well. He's good at like shielding the ball and getting himself turned. Hasn't got like the genius of Bobby, but you know, I do think he can do like a passable impression of the things that Bobby brought. Plus, he can bring a bit extra as well. But again, I've said before, it's like there's a lot to like about him, and you know, potentially he might be world class, he might be fantastic. I just need to see it over like more consistent over a longer period of time. Obviously, he's not been here that length of time, so it's not really a knock on him as such. It's more a case of I don't want to go totally overboard on him yet. Let's wait and see. But you know, there are a lot of encouraging signs that he could be, like, what did Klopp say, like about players who fit like an arse in a bucket. He could fit in like the way we play. He could fit like an arse in a bucket. He really could. In the middle, not on the left.
Yeah. But fit the way we play in the new refined way that we play, right? The new, like the modern Liverpool, away from the Mane, Firmino, Salah front three. Like, I feel like he's a perfect fit for what we're trying to do there.
What are we trying to do though? Do we know yet? That's because there's still confusion for me. It's like, well, why are you signing Darwin?
I don't think it'll be clear till next season, until the new midfielders are in. To be honest.
So I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. It's all will be revealed, I suppose.
I mean, Chris is right in so much as like they're not all like Nunez I suppose is, but he doesn't play. But Diaz is fast, but he's not Mane fast, and Gakpo isn't that, is okay speed wise, but he's not. That front three was built on pace and power.
Quicker than Bobby. I'd say Gakpo's probably.
But when you think of that front three, that's a pace and power front three. Whatever the composition of the new front three, whoever plays in that, it's not going to be that, is it? Like when LFC Twitter account reminds us of something great that happened on this day within the last 5 years, and it's been no one wants to see that this year. And you see they showed a goal. We were wearing that orange New Balance kit, and it was a breakaway goal at West Ham.
Yeah.
And it was Mane and Salah, and it was just like, it was just like the straight at like a Formula One track, gone. Yeah. You're not really going to see that anymore. It's going to be slightly different. So it will be.
It's not going to be as explosive, I don't think.
No, it's not. So you're gonna have that slight difference, aren't you? Whatever the new front, it might not be better. It might just be different.
Yeah. All right. And we're sticking with the forwards for a minute. We were really good after we got level. Like that 25 minutes or so that followed the goal was probably among the best we've played at home. Away from home all season. And again, that's not a very high bar to clear. But we could have been out of sight by half time. Jota hit the ball over from about 10 yards out after an absolutely fantastic move. Virgil had a header wide that he probably could have done better with. And then another one just before half-time, another really, really good move. I think that's what I was referencing, actually. The first Jota chance was a bit of a bobble one where it just found its way through to him and it volleyed over. But the one just before half-time, Dave, the header wide after, it was classic Liverpool. That's really, really good.
Yeah.
And a shame it couldn't finish off. And you got the sense among the players that they were gutted that one didn't go in, because it was just really, really fab stuff.
Yeah, we were playing really well. I just think that... as I say, I didn't think Hendo was at the races. I didn't think Mo was doing a great deal. Jota was a bit scrappy, but that's Jota. He still could have had a couple of goals for himself. The one when he just couldn't get over it. It was just too high for him. He got his head on it, but he couldn't get like enough contact, and it's just dropped wide. That would have been some goal. That was brilliant football. But we were doing that really well. We were passing the ball around. Trent was just completely dictating the game. He was just bossing the game. The only downside to it was I just felt like we didn't really have anything out wide. Everything was through the middle, which is partly because of like Trent's now in the middle and he's not out wide. Not that he hugs the touchline anyway, but he's usually on that side of the pitch, maybe whipping crosses in, and we have a bit of width. I just felt like we were lacking width tonight, but most other things we were doing was really good. So there's a base there for us to work off, and it's just a case of tinkering it now and going, okay, well, how can we get in behind them from the sides, and that's probably where Diaz is going to come in, because it was better when he came on. There was a lot more probing from out wide out to in, rather than just being like in the middle the whole time and it being very condensed. But we kept possession really well, and Trent was just at the heart of everything that we were doing, and just the calmness as well, like not just his passing, but like in tight spaces, and he'll just take the ball and he'll just like step to one side and then pop a little ball out, and it just gave us something. Like, they were chasing shadows, they weren't really able to get a foot in on us, so I thought that was really encouraging. Made it easier for like Fabinho and Hendo as well, because they were just getting the ball and just popping it off to Trent and saying, go on then, just you go and do something.
Yeah. I'd love to hear from Trent right now about how he's feeling about this, and whether it's something he's excited about, or where he's relieved to get out of the firing line of that straight up right back role a little bit. What do you think, Dave?
I think he's probably really enjoying himself because he's getting so many touches of the ball.
Yeah.
What I do wonder is, moving forward, is this what we're going to do? Or if we were to go back to 4-3-3, like the way we played, well, is Trent like not showing now that he could play in that right-sided like Hendo position, and he could be like really good if he did that, and then you sign a right back, sound like a top right back, and then Trent could play that, and then it's like, well, does that mean you need to buy as many midfield players? So these are like questions now. We always said, well, will they play Trent in midfield? And it's like, we're kind of half doing it, but it's a bit of like a compromise. He's still technically right back, but we're moving him into the middle, rather than just full time saying, okay, you're playing in midfield. He's still doing both. But if we were to, I'm not saying we do it every week, but say like we decide, all right, we need to play 4-3-3 in this game, and we'll just have like a traditional right back who stays on the right hand side. Well, you're looking at Trent, what he's doing now. I think there's no reason why you couldn't put him in like Henderson's position, like on the right of the three.
I mean, do you think that there's any aspect of the decision we've obviously made about the Bellingham situation? Do you think that plays into it? You've already got an established world class talent who has a similar build, similar athleticism to Jude Bellingham, and do you think that we've decided to opt out of this deal, perhaps because we've got the plan to just have Trent do all that?
I don't think so. I don't think.
No,
I don't think that. I hope not. I hope
you
that's
two
not
sound
the
like
reason.
the echo. How Trent's new position could save Liverpool millions.
Yeah.
I mean, that has to be a consideration, though, right? If we are going to transition him out of the back four, then
Not really, because we still need midfielders, don't we? And if that's the midfielder you've wanted all along, well then, I don't think that's the reason. If we have like dropped our interest, and again, I'm still yet to be fully convinced about that. And even if it is, things can change. That's like, who knows what's going to happen with that. But if we have like completely said that's it, we're out, definitely, I don't think it's because anything to do with Trent. I think it's other factors that would be the reason for that. But I do think though, Trent is like this. If we carry on with what we're doing, where you've got like Trent coming into the middle, playing alongside. At the moment, it's Fabinho. Who knows what it'll be in the future? Whether we sign like somebody like Caicedo, something like that, for example. But we may as well go back to what I was going to say when I said we'll come back to it later. To me, if we're doing this whole thing of where like our midfield three were like support players, and it was like the front three were doing all the damage, and then Trent and Robbo were like the creative force, and then you had like three, for want of a better expression, like water carriers in the middle, filling gaps, putting pressure on, winning the ball back, and all of that. Well, if we're playing this way with Trent in that role now, that's no longer enough for those three midfield players. Mm-hmm. One of them, and at the way we're playing, I'm looking at Hendo, like that specific role that Hendo's in, one of them has got to give us a lot more going forward, like goals, assists, creativity, just being a big threat. One of the, because we've still got the three players behind them, one of them has got to be giving us something. Now, maybe that's why we're getting linked with more attack-minded midfield players like Mount and Gallagher, Nunes, like those kinds of players are more. We were saying, why are all the players who were linked with, why are they all like number 10s more than like number 8s? You know, the more attacking players. Maybe that's why, because of, if this is what we're going to do, we've got to get more goals and creativity from at least one of the midfield positions, possibly even from like the left hand side as well, where Curtis is playing at the moment. I think like if you've got the two players in the middle, Trent and Fabinho or whoever, you've got to get more from the other midfielders.
Okay, Jules, what do you make of all this? I haven't really heard from you lately on the. It seems there's always a Trent situation of some ilk to talk about. But are you liking what you've seen so far? And what do you make of the future prospects for him in this refined position?
The more I see of it, the more I can. It isn't. I don't think it's feasible to play this sort of inverted right back role where you sort of leave right back vacant for a lot of the time, because as Dave said, we left a lot of space on that right hand side off the table, or on the table I should say. We just weren't using it that much because there was no one to overlap into it because Trent was in midfield. Whether Trent's long term position is to move into midfield, I'm not sure, but he does seem to play with a lot more freedom when he's in there. I don't know whether he seemed to like be thoroughly enjoying himself tonight. I don't know whether it was like the socks down, the short sleeve. It's spring. There's not much riding on this. I can do what I want. But he did seem to be playing with an awful lot of like
swagger.
Swagger. Yeah, that's exactly it tonight. And so whether we can harness that long term, I'm not sure whether it'll be without this right back, because I think you certainly can't. I don't think you can play it against the top teams. You're asking an awful lot of the right side centre back to go back in there and cover. And on a couple of times when West Ham broke, I noticed that Trent would go into the central centre back position, and then Matip would go out to the right. And that's all okay, I think, against West Ham, but I don't read. You won't get away with that against anyone who's in the top four. I don't think. I think you'd struggle. I mean, like Paul's been banging the drum for Trent in midfield since he broke into the team. Whether this is like the moment where we we haven't got a right, unless it's Milner or Gomez, we haven't really got a right back of sorts. So I'm not sure whether this experiment is this will be the formation next year, or this is the audition to see whether you can actually go into midfield a lot more, and we will buy, as Dave said, a world-class, right back. Yeah, I was going to say it's fascinating. It's not that fascinating, to be honest. Formation and tactics and this kind of shit it's not exactly the most exciting thing.
It'd be fascinating if we were good and we were.
Yeah, it isn't. It's not fascinating.
Like I wouldn't put it up title challenge again.
I wouldn't put it as fascinating, but it is interesting. It is interesting to see how this will play out, because it will affect the transfer plans. I facetiously said about the Echo things, like it'll save Liverpool millions, but why are we doing it now? Is it just a sort of demob happy? Well, the season's gone. We'll try something. It doesn't. We'll see what comes of it, and from it, will something happen that will affect the transfer plans, or are the transfer plans already in place? It is April. You sort of make them now, April, May, to get them in a row for the summer. I don't know. It's difficult. My instinct would tell me that we would persist with the Trent as right back, but coming into midfield when we're on the attack. But you're relying an awful lot on Konate being fit, and he can't do that. And again, Matip was good tonight, one man of the match, but it's West Ham. It's not going to work. It might work at home against most teams. It won't work away against good teams, or
but how many
get our
games?
asses handed to us in away games
Well,
no, I am good teams on down that right hand side all season. So
we are eliminating. I am eliminating a lot of the league by those caveats. I do admit that. Again, as I say, it's interesting. It is interesting to see how it all plays out. For the moment, after all the season Trent's had, this has been the roughest patch he's had of his career, certainly in terms of criticism. It's good to just see him playing with, as Dave said, the swagger. Enjoying the football again, dictating the play, and he was excellent tonight. Absolutely, looked on top form. So, I suppose it's watch this space, or the vacant space on the right hand side, if you will.
I mean, Dave. Yeah, I mean that's a good point actually. Because there was one more thing I wanted to say about this, Dave, was there was times when it looked like Trent was also playing sort of like an inside left midfield kind of role. Like he
Yeah,
was popping up all over the shop, and
yeah,
then. When we had the ball, there were a couple of times that it looks like the players are still getting used to it as well. They're so used to seeing him out there waiting for the pass to drive forward in that sort of right midfield kind of area, and he's not there. So we lack that width as well. And then there was that time, I think it was before West Ham scored, that they had that breakaway, and he was actually on that left midfield side there. He was running back, and we just had like I think it was just like poor control or a poor pass or something because we looked screwed from that. Like there's still obviously like a shitload of kinks to be worked out
yeah.
in this. But does the absence of width concern you if he plays there?
It does.
Because we're not going to be able to just chuck a right back in there because that officially moves him into midfield rather than
Yeah.
having him as this hybrid right back.
It does concern me to some extent, but I do think it's something that they can work out. And again, a lot of it's going to come down to that position that Hendo's in. You know, if you've got somebody in that position who doesn't mind going or overlapping. I mean, Hendo does it, to be fair, not so much tonight, but I do put that down to him, like just being a little bit leggy from playing like twice a week. It's just not something he should do. But he
Yeah.
spent a lot of time in like the last couple of games where he's just been making overlapping runs outside of Mo. When Mo gets it, cuts in, Hendo's running around the outside. So we do get width in that situation. I just didn't think we had much of it tonight. But just going back to what you were saying there was one moment and Curtis was like running across the field from the left and he's cutting in and he was looking and there was acres of space on the right and it's where you'd expect Trent to have been like bombing on. And Curtis looked up and he's like looking for a pass and there's no one there. And he looks back at Matip and then he's like pointing at Joel into the space going, go on, go there. And Joel must have been thinking, fucking hell, you want me to play right wing as well now? I'm already playing like centre back and right back and now you want me to go on like overlapping runs on the outside. But yet there was just like loads of space on that side because of where Trent was. But I do think, like, you know, we're in the early stages of this. There's, like, things that they're going to look at and go, okay, that's not good. That's not really working. How do we fix that? What do we do? And, you know, and they'll work on stuff like that in training. And, you know, I think they'll,
Pre-season.
yeah. And the other thing as well is, like, Robbo's role. It's different now. You know, he's having to sit in a lot more than we're used to seeing. He's not just, like, bombing on all the time. That's something else that needs working. But with Robbo, it's like he's got a different player playing in front of him pretty much every game. I know Jota's started the last few now, but all season it's just been like musical chairs on that left wing spot. So Robbo's not really.
That's not going to change either.
Probably not because I don't know. Because when Diaz comes back in, I think he's that good. I think he'll just force his way in, but he may end up like playing some games on the right as well. You just don't know what they're going to do with Diaz. I think he could play like either side, but he's played predominantly on the left, and I do think he's like a class above. I think he's like definitely starts when he's fully fit. It's like it's him and Mo, and then it's one other. At the moment, Gakpo's the man who you'd say probably deserves to start, but the other two, when fully fit, I'm starting Diaz pretty much every game.
Okay. Well, Jules, Dave mentioned Matip there having to play in three positions. He popped up in the 6-yard box with 25 minutes to go. He got a header in. It was blocked. The rebound was saved and it went wide for a corner. And West Ham just didn't learn their lesson. Like they put Ben Rama on him and he had a completely free header, unstoppable header from just on the edge of the 6-yard box. And we're 2-1 up.
Yeah, it's one of those goals where it's simultaneously a great attacking play and an awful defensive play. Because it's very, you know, it's all right saying he had a free header, but he's, you know, we've all seen him over the years. He's prone to just like, you know, 50p heading it over the bar. So you're right, he was left completely unmarked. He had a full steam ahead, sort of run at it, bullet header, great header. But it was bad defending by West Ham. But it was a good header. It was he's had a bad season, Matt. It was just good to see him as well having a good game. It's just good to see everyone having a good game. like the sort of malaise is sort of lifted a little bit, and you feel like we're coming out the other side of it. What will end up being on the other side of it, I don't know. But it feels like we're through the fog a little bit now. We can see the horizon again, and none more so with Matip tonight. Played well, goal. He should have scored before on the thing. That was a bit of a pinball situation. So I never truly blame players when you have those sort of pinball situations in the penalty area because it's happened so fast. Your reactions, it invariably never falls to a player with like a quick strike instinct like Jota or Salah. It's usually your Matips or your Hendos or your Fabinhos or someone like that. So yeah, just really nothing to say for Matip apart from it's good to see him have a good game and like play well because he's been a cracking player for us and he's just had a shit season like most of them have, and you don't want to see that happen to some of these lads because they've been great servants for us. So again, I would guess Konate won't be fit for Spurs. So I would say probably Matip will play again. So let's see how he does against I'm not going to say his name. England's number 9.
He'll be up against Son mostly though, won't he?
Yeah.
Playing on that left hand side. I don't know whether Konate will be back or not because didn't he say it was nothing serious?
You're not believing that all of a sudden.
I know. Yeah. What am I thinking?
Yeah.
We'll see him next season.
Bobby's out for 3 weeks. 6 months later. Sorry, Chris.
Oh God, don't, Jules. You were just being real positive then. I was going to say that.
Yeah,
that's the most positive I've heard you all season.
I hope they can. Whatever happens to Bobby, I hope they can get him on the pitch for at least 10 minutes of the final home game.
Yeah. Even 30 seconds would do, wouldn't it? Just so he can have
just something. Yeah, he deserves
that ovation.
Even if he can't, just get him out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Put him on Nunez's back. Nunez can do something useful for once.
Nice.
Put some chum out there for Dave.
I'm not biting.
No, he's not biting, Jules.
I've not really got any ammunition to come back.
I'm putting my chum out there.
I'll wait for him to do something good, and then that's when I can fight back. But at the moment, I'm just having to take this.
You can subscribe to the Liverpool Way podcast on all the major platforms, whether it's Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon or Podbean. Just search for the Liverpool Way, leave us a review and hit subscribe to automatically receive all new episodes. You can also head to liverpoolway.co.uk and grab a TLW season ticket for just £3 a month. There's tons of exclusive content, including match reports from every Liverpool game, weekly Premier League roundups, the TLW diary and access to the members-only forum. Lastly, you can follow us on social media at The Liverpool Way on Twitter and at The Liverpool Way TLW on Instagram and Facebook. Well, we've already spoken about the handball incident late on. Covered that. Alisson did a sort of nice little good starting position and got out to beat Ings to the ball. Although I think I could beat Danny Ings to the ball because he's slow as a motherfucker. But and it was kind of uneventful after that. But I was looking at our results since February the 4th, right? Since we beat Wolves at Anfield 3-0. It's played in the league. It's played 13, won 8, drawn 3, lost 2. Now, in that context, that kind of looks all right, considering where we were before the World Cup and the abject start that we had after the World Cup. And I think if you'd have taken that Bournemouth defeat out of that run, then I think we'd all be that has really, really coloured the last couple of months of our season. It was such a fucking bummer. It was such a down moment because we'd just come off that 7-0 win against United and everything was looking like super rosy. There was prophecies of us being back and all. I just think if Mo puts that penalty in against Bournemouth, we go on and win that game, and things would be looking a hell of a lot rosier now than they would have been otherwise. Is that something you go along with, Dave? Or?
Yeah, I think we'd have beat Chelsea as well. I think we just went into that Chelsea game on like a massive downer, and a lot of it comes down to that Bournemouth game. But it kind of ties in what Jill said before about like where are we, and what is our level now, and we're not really sure. I think what we are right now, we're a top 4 team. Like, I know we're not going to finish in the top 4 because the horrendous form early in the season, but I think the form that we're showing now, it's not anywhere near our best, and it's not good enough to be challenging for the title. Not even close. But what we are is definitely top 4 level. We should be finishing in this team playing the way it's playing now will finish in the top 4. Ordinarily, but it won't be higher than that.
Look, I've just done the maths quickly now. Like, if you take our points tally since February the 4th, those 8 wins and 3 draws, that's 27 points, right? Divide that by 30. Hang about. 27 divided by 13 is 2 points a game. Extrapolate that after over 38 games. Hold on.
That's 76 points.
Right, so more than enough.
Comfortably
More
top
than enough
4,
to get.
but not
Yeah.
challenging for the title.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But that's where we're at,
that-
I'd say. That's who we are right
Right.
now.
Okay, so not much else to talk about from the game tonight, but there were like plenty of other interesting games tonight. Like, and I'll give you some options. What do you want to tackle first? Forest winning, Fat Frank losing 5 out of 5.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Can we before we go, Chelsea? You've got to change his name from Fat Frank. It should be Bald Frank now.
What about
Fat Bald
Frank? That works.
So he's just Frank from
Fat
It's
Bald
Always Sunny in
Frank.
He's just Frank from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, given the height differential, I think Danny DeVito probably weighs less than Frank Lampard, but... and probably has more hair. But yeah, poor Frank. Who'd have thunk that was the way that was going to go, Dave?
Couldn't have seen that coming at all. Honestly, it's that guy who owns Chelsea. It's the
Todd
sheer
Bowley.
arrogance of the fella. It's like he knows absolutely fuck all, but he's so arrogant. He's not willing to concede that, and he's still like, thinks he can just call the shots. And it's like, that was everybody
That's
knew.
the American way.
Yeah, but what everybody knew when Lampard was brought back in. I say everybody. The people in the media who are like Frank's buddies, and they'll talk him up and say, oh, he knows the club, he gets it. And it's like, shut up. No, he's a complete, utter fraud. Don't get me wrong, great playing career. Not knocking him for that at all. But as a manager, he's a fraud. And I was talking the other day with a Brentford fan and a Villa fan, and Lampard came up, and like me and the Brentford fan were both like, Lampard's absolutely shite, and the Villa fan says, yeah, I'm not sure who's worse, like him or Steven Gerrard. And I looked at him and I'm like, oh, fucking hell. And he goes, and I'm like, I don't know about that. I was like, come on, like Gerrard's at least had like a good career at Rangers. I don't know, he might have been bad for years. And he went, honestly, he's the worst manager I've ever seen at Villa. And he's like reeling off all these reasons why Gerrard's
They're Joseph Venglos.
Well, yeah, but he wasn't particularly old. He was like quite young, so he probably doesn't remember that. But I'm thinking, all right, you know what? All the stuff that you're saying about Stevie at Villa, I'm not going to dispute any of that because he wasn't good at all. But the difference is, Steven Gerrard is a manager. Now, he might not be a particularly good manager, but he's a manager. Frank Lampard is not. Frank Lampard is a complete phony who's got no business being manager of any football club. He's completely brings nothing to the table at all, other than the fact
What does
he has a
Steven
great
Gerrard
playing
bring
career.
to the table?
Well, look what he did at
Other
Rangers.
than the fact he had a great... Oh, fuck off with
No.
Rangers.
Oh, yeah, fuck off with Rangers.
It's the fucking Scottish Premier League.
The Rangers that could never ever win anything because Celtic were just winning it, and then he come in and he actually did well at Rangers. So
Coincided with a massive Celtic downturn.
doesn't matter. It
I
doesn't
haven't
matter.
won it since.
He did all right. He did all right at Rangers. And then he's gone to Villa and he's been found out. Now, again, this is not a vote for Steven Gerrard. I've just said I'm not saying Steven Gerrard is a good manager. I'm saying he is a manager. Frank Lampard, it should not be a manager. Frank Lampard is totally in over his head. He brings nothing to the table. He's a total phony. And the only thing that he's got going for him is he knows what to say after they've been beat. He knows what to say to get people to go, oh, Frank gets it. Frank will sort it. And then eventually they're like, actually, you know what? He won't sort it. And he's only so good at talking after defeats because the amount of fucking practice he's had at it.
Yeah. Well, here's what he said tonight, right? Speaking to BT Sport after the game. Well,
Hang on, Chris. When you let Dave guess what he said and then see if it matches up.
Okay, go on then.
I don't know what he'll have said tonight, but I've seen what he said at the weekend.
Go on, Dave, guess it. You say he's so good at it.
Generally, it's all to do with that's not good enough for Chelsea Football Club. We've all got to do better. And, the players have got to show more pride. And I've got to do a better job because the fans deserve better, blah, blah, blah. That's his usual stick. But he said all of that at the weekend. So he's probably going to have to go in a different direction tonight.
He has, yeah. He's gone in a completely different direction. I haven't got the full interview in front of me, but these are the quotes, right? Well, it's a difficult one, yeah. I feel for the players a bit. In terms of the game, we controlled it possession-wise. Brentford are good at what they do. The details of the game are pretty clear. And I'll drop the accent now.
No, it was good. It was good.
It's good, yeah.
Well, that's the first for everything. We're lacking belief at the top end of the pitch today because we were there a lot. So you lose the game. And he goes, this is the kicker, this one. This is not a sob story, but everything is going against us. So that's like the living, breathing definition of a sob story, right? But that game was a clear one in terms of being everything going against us, because even though we didn't create big chances, we were always in control. It's a difficult run in. Some players came in today and did all right, so maybe it's time to see them a little bit more. At the moment, I can't complain about the application of the squad, which usually that's kind of his go-to as well, isn't he? He'll throw his players under the bus. He hasn't done that there. And he said, we would love a magic wand and a magic moment, but that doesn't come in football because the Premier League is tough. We have to fight for our moment. It's the same story. Keep going and keep working. This isn't an easy moment in the season when a club is used to winning a lot, but those aims and goals are not there.
Do you reckon he's going to go like
the
rest of the season, losing every game and set some kinds of...
Hopefully that'd be hilarious.
Because he's lost every one so far, hasn't he?
I mean, you're right. He does know the club inside out because he knows where the toilets are, and he knows where the dressing room is, and he knows where the vending machines are. But he doesn't know anything else about football at that club. It's madness that they ever appointed him. And madness. You talk about yeah.
Maybe they should give it to Suggs, because I'm sure he knows the club as well.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, like in terms of like his job prospects after this, and I know this is something that you've kind of referenced before, Dave, but I've just checked Paddy Power, and in terms of where Frank goes next, he's favourite to be the next Tory Prime Minister at the
moment. Oh my God.
But hey, where are they now? They're 11th on 39 points. So are they safe? I guess.
Are they 39 points?
They're just about 39,
safe. Yeah.
Fucking hell.
But if you take maybe 5 points, if you take 5 off them, I think they'd be in serious danger of going down.
Mm-hmm.
But listen to
That's
this,
crazy.
right? I've got his record in front of me now. Frank Lampard's last 19 games as a manager. So you ready for this?
Yeah.
Lost 2-0, lost 2-0, lost 2-1, lost 2-0, lost 1-0, lost 2-0, lost 2-1, lost 3-1, lost 4-1, drew 1-1, lost 2-1, lost 3-0, lost 4-1, lost 2-0, drew 0-0, won 3-0, which apparently was against Leeds, lost 1-0, lost 2-0, lost 2-1. That's unbelievable.
Wow. Now, I think I counted 1 win and 2 draws in that.
Yeah. 1 win and two draws, a 0-0 and a 1-1.
Yeah.
You say it's an American. Sorry, Chris. You say it's an American. You say it's an American thing though, like with Todd Bowley. But it's not. It's just like it's the Todd Bowley thing, because you think of like the Glazers at United. They didn't go in and do this kind of mad shit. They just lowered the club with debt, etc. FSG didn't come in and do this mad shit. And if you take a look at like the story of the moment, which is Wrexham, you got 2 like fucking Hollywood A-listers who know fuck all about football, who bought the club and are beloved because they've let other people do the work, and they've gone out and they've schmoozed and they've PR'd it, and they've looked at, they've gone and invested in the town and everything like that. And they haven't like tried to step over anything with to do with the football club. It's not like far be it for me to defend Americans as a whole, but it's not an American thing. It's just Todd Bowley is just like so arrogant. He thinks it's Major League Baseball where you can just buy the best players and it'll all work. And it's like that works, but like if you've got 40 odd players in your squad, that's just too many in football. It does not work.
Having to extend the dressing room because there's too many players in there.
Yeah, sitting on the floor in the dressing room.
Sitting on the floor.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's a Todd Bowley thing. Like, so it's just, and the clear out they have to do. I mean, I'm guessing Pochettino will take over in the summer, But he should take over in the summer, not now. And it should be, I'm gonna have to sell some of these, and you're gonna have to take a hit on some of these because this squad needs massively trimming. And I think Chelsea it'll take a couple of years now for them to get back to anything sort of. If they want to challenge for a league title, it's going to take them a couple of years because they've totally fucked it with all these players they've bought. It's just way too many.
Who
It's
do you reckon
fucking
sat
crazy.
on the floor? Aubameyang, because he's been like completely ostracised.
I bet he didn't even turn up.
Mason Mount will absolutely not be on the floor. Lampard will have just been telling everybody to move and clear a seat for him because he's teacher's pet, isn't he?
Even though he's injured.
Yeah. Conor Gallagher probably sitting on the floor.
Yeah. Good.
I can't think. They've got so many players. I couldn't tell you. I go snowblind with all the players they've got.
It's mental. And they've plus not even just that, they've got about 30 out on loan as well.
Which FIFA are curtailing this year, aren't they? They're not allowed to do it anymore.
So Chelsea are fucked, basically. That's
Yeah.
one conclusion we can draw.
And one more point that I want to make before we move on to the Forest game or the City Arsenal game, which I suppose we have to talk about tonight. But you mentioned the Villa fan, Dave, and he was quite young and he might not have seen as much as your average fan. But since Martin O'Neill left in 2010, they had their manager's been Gerard Houllier, fair enough, not the same after his heart scare. Alex McLeish, Paul Lambert.
Oof.
These are the permanent managers. Tim Sherwood, Remy Gard, Roberto Di Matteo. Yeah, Steve Bruce, Dean Smith, and Steven Gerrard, and now they've got a proper manager in Unai Emery. And so I would tend to trust that Villa fan's opinion because he's seen some pretty shit managers during his time.
Yeah, I
Anyway.
can't have it that Gerrard's in the same discussion as Lampard. I find that offensive.
Anyway, I'm just going to get myself into trouble for ripping on Stevie. But so what about the Forest result tonight, Dave? That's probably a massive unexpected bonus, really, and it probably comes with Brighton having played 120 minutes at the weekend, and
I
Forest
predicted
benefit
that.
from that.
I predicted it.
You did?
Yeah, because we've got the pick'ems on the site where you pick results. I had 2-1 Bournemouth. Sorry, 2-1 Forest, and the reason for that was because the big hangover with Brighton. I just thought it's the right time to play them, and Forest at home. The home form's been okay. They're not blowing teams away, but they're tough to play against. The games are generally really close. It's just away from home that they've just been dire. So I fancied them to get points there, and it's great because they've moved up a place. Everton down to second from bottom, puts all the pressure on them. But I've just got a horrible feeling Newcastle's going to shit the bed and lose 1-0 to a scabby set piece. Remember the game last year though, and Newcastle were winning, and the Harry Potter chained himself to the goalpost, didn't he? And there was 19 minutes stoppage time or something, and Everton equalised right at the end of that stoppage time. Because that Anthony Gordon, when he left and he went to Newcastle a couple of weeks later, he put something on Twitter, didn't he? About and he'd done an interview, that was it, and he they'd said about Everton didn't wish him luck when he left, and he said, yeah, I was a bit hurt by that. I thought that they should have wished me luck and thanked me for. I did as much as anybody to keep them up last season. And some Everton fan replied with a picture of that lad changed the goalpost, and they went, fuck off you. They went, this fucking nonce did more than you did to keep us up last year. So hopefully Newcastle will remember that, what happened last year, and they won't let that happen again. They'll get the job done, but I just don't trust them.
I'm starting to come around to the idea that it might actually happen. I know if it does happen, I will be full of apologies to you because the entire time I've been you just know that as soon as Sean Dyche gets in there, they're going to start picking up 1-0 wins and draws on the road, and it's going to, they'll be out. I said that I think I predicted they'd stay by about 8 or 9 points.
To be fair, they have done that to some extent.
Mm-hmm. But
2
now
1-0 wins, a draw at Palace.
But they're on 28 points now. Forest are on 30. I mean, obviously Everton have the game in hand and stuff, but I don't think there's any chance Leicester goes down. I think they'll manage to get themselves out of it just because of the quality they've got. And I think it's Leeds, Forest and Everton, isn't it? I think 2 of those 3.
I'm not writing Southampton off yet either. Everyone keeps laughing at me for saying
Got Bournemouth
that.
tomorrow, haven't they?
Southampton are not that bad. They're really not. But they lack a goal scorer, and that's been killing them all season. But they're not that bad. And if you're looking at the fixtures, which that's what I do for probably like 3 hours every day. I'm going through all the fixtures of the teams at the bottom, and Southampton have got some winnable games, and Everton's fixtures are pretty brutal. You know, the games that they needed to win was like Fulham at home. They needed to win that, and they lost. That's really put them behind the 8 ball. But I seen like a lad like from I've known him since I was 4. He was like my best mate throughout school, and like we kind of lost touch like as we grew up and that. But I bumped into him last night, and he's like a massive blue, and and like the subject obviously comes up. And he's like, "Oh, we're gone." He said, "We're gone, mate." He said, "There's no way we're staying up." He said, "Like, we're so bad." And I went, "Look," I said, "You know, I hope so." Like, and I knew how he'd take it. And he
so
just
mean,
he looked
dude.
at me and he went, "You know what?" He went, "Completely fair enough." He said, "I totally get that. I don't blame you." He said, "Because I'd be exactly the same." He said, "Because that was it." He went, "You must be thinking this is fucking hilarious and wanting us to go down." I was like, "Yeah, I'll be honest. Yeah, I do. I'm like really desperate for you to go down. I think it'd be dead funny." And he was like, "Yeah, you know what? I totally get that. No problem at all." He said, "Like, I'd be exactly the same." And he said, the only thing that, like, he said, from his point of view, he said, "I don't take the piss about anything, so I don't want people taking the piss out of me over it." And I was like, "Well, I wouldn't be taking the piss out of you. I'll tell you now, I'm desperate for you to go down, but if it happens, I'm not going to be, like, rubbing your nose in it or anything like that. Like, you know what, I will feel bad for you, but I still want it to happen." And he was like, "Yeah, I totally get that. That's, you know, that's fine." Because it is. It's like they've got to understand how much they hate us and, like, they want us to get beat all the time. So I just want this to happen because it'll be funny. And I don't think any Everton fans got any right to think that that's out of order. Because it's just the way it is, isn't it? You know, it's not impersonal. It's just the way it is.
I think they've got every. The way I feel about it, I think they've got like plenty of right, and I've said this before. They've got plenty of right to like be as sick of us and hate us as much as they do. Like the amount of misery that we've inflicted upon them down the years. Like I'd be exactly the same. Like Jules and I will always say, like the for us it was Man United kind of ruining our childhood and stuff, and perhaps we didn't have the same level of rivalry with Everton the you local lads did as a kid. But like I think if they do go down, it would be funny, but it's not something I'm going to take any like huge, massive pleasure in. But I know for you, like, I think
you don't need to.
Us having our...
You don't need to take any pleasure from it because I'll take so much pleasure for all of us.
Okay.
So it's fine. It's really
so
fine.
Mean, dude. It's so mean. Like, I mean, it would just be like the ultimate comedy moment in terms of everything. Your entire 30 years almost of writing about Everton ripping on them, like in our worst season in the last God knows how long, it was redeemed by them getting relegated. Like, it wouldn't even count as a bad season to you anymore if that happened, would it?
No. Oh, it'd be one of the best. It would. One of the most memorable.
Jules, the other important game in the Premier League tonight was the Man City Arsenal game, and I think going into that for most of us who have witnessed firsthand over the last few years what tends to happen in these situations, there was no surprises with the way it turned out.
No. Manchester City are, to coin a pop culture reference, they're like Thanos. They're just inevitable. I don't feel really bad for Arsenal, but I have massive amount of sympathy for them because they've had a great season and it's going to be they're going to finish second. They're not going to win the league because there's a team that cheats relentlessly, has cheated to get to the top, and they're not playing by the same rules as everybody else, and it's just, as I say, it's inevitable that they will catch you. You know, I didn't see any of the game tonight. Obviously, I was watching our game, but I said this to Dave on the weekend, and it's weird how often City get home games against title rivals in the second half of the season. Now, obviously, no one thought Arsenal were going to be title rivals this year, so I can't really count that one. But we were playing them on April 1st at the Etihad. We never seem to play them in the first half of the season early on at the Etihad. We always seem to play them in the second half when we have to go there and get a win. It's never got to be a draw. It's got to be a win. And we haven't won at the Etihad for God knows how long. It's just we can't do it. And I don't even think it's that intimidating the ground. But the style of football they play, where they dominate the ball and They passed it around. And it's just at home that they are just almost irresistible, and not in a good way. And I think that's Arsenal cooked now, unfortunately. As I say,
Yeah.
they've got 2 games in hand and 2 points behind, so they can afford to lose a game and still and win the other and still go ahead of them. Um, so there'd be no Arsenal fans listening, obviously, but I have sympathy for you.
Yeah.
It's tough, and you'll be sitting there going, well, this isn't fair. Like, we've been great, how are we not winning this? You're going to finish with 90 odd points, and you're not going to win the league. Well, that's been Liverpool's reality for 4 of the last 5 years. And it doesn't get any easier to take. And until their cheating ways are have a stop put to them, it's always going to be like this. And just to reiterate, I'm sure anyone who listens to this knows, because they'll be Liverpool fans, they'll know. But it is insane that Manchester City, it doesn't matter they've had 10 years of dominance, they've been good for 10 years. Manchester City have a higher revenue stream than Real Madrid. Real fucking Madrid. I think Real Madrid are probably the most famous club in the world, the most successful European club ever.
Probably
Real
the most
Madrid,
famous sporting organisation in
yeah,
the world, perhaps.
the home of the Galacticos, Zidane, Ronaldo, both Ronaldos. You know, um, they've had like the weird glamour ones like Beckham. They've had like legends like Gareth Bale. That's for you, Chris. They've
If you're
they've
having
had
Gareth Bale, I'm having Michael Owen.
no, he was there for a cup of coffee. You fucking are having Michael Owen. You may as well have
I'll have
Jonathan
McManaman
Woodgate.
then.
Gareth Bale was there for a round of golf.
And about 3 European Cups.
Yeah, one of them at our expense, which you seem to be reveling in these days.
I Gareth Bale is not the reason we lost that European Cup final. But
True.
Real Madrid, this incredibly famous institution that you go anywhere in Europe, you see Real Madrid shirts as a basic level, and yet somehow Manchester City outstrip them for revenue, and you don't think that's a bit weird? It's just it's just it's just incredible that they've been allowed to get away with it. They've got 114 charges from the Premier League, and it's just and I don't expect every news report, every newspaper report to say Manchester City won 4-1. Obviously they're cheats, but um, I cannot get on board with people lauding them and saying how great they are.
Yeah.
When you must know that the reason they're Manchester City, what are we in 2023? 13 years ago, they were owned by a shady Thai fella, and they were buying mad players like Robinho, and they were still shit. They were still shit. They were hiring like Sven-Göran Eriksson off his sex boat to come and fucking work for them. They were a joke. They've always been a joke. They've out of their history, they've had a couple of good years, and apart from that, they are the poor relation in Manchester. But now suddenly they're this dominant team. They're this like all-encompassing juggernaut financially and like on the field, and you think this is bollocks. Absolute bollocks. And I have every sympathy with Arsenal that they must feel the same way. And I know like a few of them will sit there and go, well, we didn't think we were going to finish in the top four, and we finished second. That's all right. You don't really think that. You're furious and you're gutted that you're not going to win the league because these twats have cheated. And I've said it before on this
Doesn't come around very
podcast.
often, does it?
It doesn't.
come around very often, these chances.
And
And you can enjoy finishing second and enjoy your young, vibrant team, or you're not. But at the end of the day, like, nothing will compare to the actual winning of it. But
No.
sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just like, I was just going to say, like, years and years ago when Jimmy Hill was still alive and he used to work for Sky and he did the Sunday supplement, he used to fucking drone on every week about ex-pros should go and be referees because no one understands the game, and he'd say it every week, and you think, fucking hell, shut up, you dickhead. But I'm going to say this, I'm going to do a Jimmy Hill here, and I'm going to drone on about the same thing I always say. It's not enough that you're rich. It's not enough that you've got loads of money. Organically, you would have grown anyway. No, you've got to cheat as well. You've got to cheat. It's not enough that you've got more money than God. No, got to cheat as well. Got to make sure that we win by cheating. We'll bend the rules. We'll break the rules. We don't care as long as we win. And it's like, what is the point Like it's just, you know, again, I'll hand it over to Dave, but I feel every bit of sympathy for Arsenal tonight. We've been there multiple times.
Dave, before I just want to pose this to you, like before we kind of go to you, like I was talking to an Arsenal fan friend of mine, and he said for a long time that we have been robbed of like an era of dominance because of them, and the context that he said that in was the fact that Arsenal era was cut short by Abramovich taking over at Chelsea and Mourinho coming in and them signing everybody. So this is the second time that they've been experiencing that. So I know that in the past you've kind of like you've had your say about Arsenal fans and Arsenal and everything that goes along with that, but I mean, how do you view this?
Well, on that point, the only difference really, and it's a technicality, but Chelsea weren't breaking rules at that point because the rules weren't in place.
Weren't there?
Chelsea's spending was distasteful, and yeah, it leaves a bad taste in the mouth if you're an Arsenal fan. I totally get that, but technically they weren't breaking any rules at that point.
They were a Champions League club as well at that point. They were like winning stuff, yeah.
But the rules are there now, and they're being blatantly ignored. We all know it. I mean, they're paying Haaland 900 grand a week. That should be mentioned every single time people talk about how many goals he scored. Say, well, yeah, but I mean, he's getting 900 grand a week or close to it. You know, nobody talks about that. When how are they affording to do that? You know, it's there for everyone to see. Everybody knows what's going on. For some reason, a lot of pundits just want to completely ignore it. Don't bring it up at all. Now, what Arsenal's going through here, I've got sympathy for them. Definitely, I've got sympathy for them. I didn't want Arsenal to win the league, and I've said this before in the pod. Part of it's just to do with me being like a small petty man, and it's like, well, we missed out. I don't want them just waltzing in and capitalising like after one good season, and that's enough for them to win the league. While we went through what we went through, so there's that. But the most overriding reason for it is I want City to win the league because I want people to get pissed off about it. It shouldn't just be us. Every year it's us talking about it and people are just like, who gives a fuck, it's stopped Liverpool winning the league. Well, okay, let's see how you react when it's other teams who are being stopped from winning the league and it's City winning the league all the time and the league's become boring as fuck because a team that's cheating is winning it every single year. Eventually everyone's going to start getting pissed off and they're going to start demanding that something's done about it. Now, okay, something is being done to some extent. You know, there's charges in place. Who knows how that's going to play out? But I just feel like if Arsenal were to win the league this year, I feel like that helps City out in a way.
Yeah.
It takes some of the pressure off where people are maybe not as... It's like, well, Arsenal done it, so why can't somebody else do it? What's the big deal? Whereas Arsenal like were way ahead, and now they've just been ground down to dust, and City will win it comfortably. And I feel, well, I'll tell you where I do feel sorry for Arsenal. They're going to have like all knobheads calling them bottlers and everything else now. Now, last year, they bottled the top four. They bottled it last year. Now, you can say that they're doing the same thing again, but it's totally different. You get to April in a title race with Man City, and the pressure is fucking unbearable because you've got no wiggle room at all. It's like if you get a draw away from home. Like, they drew at Anfield, and there's people saying, like, that's a bad result. And it is. You know, that was the start of it, really. That was the result that, like, really started the problems for them. Because they're 2-0 up, but they end up drawing 2-2. And you're not looking at that as we've just got a point at Anfield, a place where we get beat every year. You look at it like, we just dropped 2 points there. Man City are going to win every game. That's 2 points dropped. Now we've got even less margin for error. Then they draw the next game. And then the heads have gone at that point because the pressure's just... they've not had any experience of dealing with this situation. Now, we know how hard it is, and like we won every game and still didn't end up winning it. Arsenal were never going to do that. Arsenal were always going to feel the pressure, and there's nothing to be ashamed of in that. I know what's happening to Arsenal now. They've had a great season. They've punched above the weight because they're not a great team. You know, there's still a team on the way up. They're quite young. They're probably way ahead of schedule where they thought they'd be. So that's all positive. And I feel
Yeah.
like it's wrong that there's all kinds of negativity being heaped on them now and people taking the piss and going, you've bottled it. No, they haven't. They're just up against a team that's like fucking cheating. Because for all these points that Arsenal have dropped in the last few weeks, they're still miles ahead of everybody else. If you take City out of it, Arsenal are like sitting pretty at the top of the league. They're having a little bit of a wobble, which they'll come through and they'll start winning games again, and they'll finish miles ahead of everybody else. So they've got nothing to be ashamed of here. And me and Jules have took the piss out of Arsenal for years and that, but there's a difference in that. Like the Arsenal thing, it's like I said it like after we played them around field and like the way they observed the silence and all of that stuff. It's like the thing with Arsenal fans are knobheads, but they're not cunts. And that's like the difference, it's a football rivalry with Arsenal. There's nothing really personal there, I don't I've not got any massive like hatred for Arsenal at all. I'll take the piss and we'll have a laugh at their expense and stuff, which we have done. Not this season because what have we got to laugh at, do you know what I mean? But right. It's a different kind of rivalry. Like we've got a traditional rivalry with Arsenal and it's never been nasty or anything like that. It's just a proper football rivalry. We've gone head to head with them.
Triumphs. So like they'll come to Anfield and they'll sing "We won the league on Merseyside," and we would come back at them with the 1-0 down, 2-1 up. Michael Owen won the cup, and just back and forth and back and forth. It was about what our two teams have accomplished down the years. It's not about fucking tragedies or poverty or anything like that. So I've got no beef with Arsenal fans. My dad was one for a start, but I've got no real beef with Arsenal fans at all.
That's because you weren't in the chippy that night with me and Jules.
No, I wasn't.
That's what it stems from.
That's what it all goes back to. And we won that night, so we knocked them out of the European Cup and ended up getting to the final. So,
but it all stems
as you say,
from
Dave,
that. Really does.
You're a petty small man.
I am, but that doesn't mean I haven't got sympathy for Arsenal, and I will fight Arsenal's corner. Anyone who wants to be giving them shit, I'll stick up for them because we've been there. And you've got all these fucking knobheads from teams who are like bottom 6 or mid-table, and they're talking about you bottling it. These knobheads were saying that we bottled it when we drew one. We won out the last 15 games. I think we won 14 and drew 1, and you have that draw, and they're like, you've blown it, you've bottled it. Fuck off, we're making history here. Nobody else has ever got this amount of points other than these cheating bastards up the road. And you're trying to take the piss out of us. It's fuck off. And that's exactly what Arsenal are going through now. Okay, Arsenal have not done as well as we did in those seasons, but still, overall, they're on course for probably 90 points or whatever. They've had a great season. In fact, I think the only other time they've come close to 90 points, or they got 90 points, was the Invincible season, wasn't it?
Right.
So what they're doing is very similar to their greatest ever team, and yet they're being made to feel somehow inferior because they're missing out to Man City. But it's again, it just comes down to you're finishing second in the Tour de France to fucking Lance Armstrong. That's what it comes down to. That's what it is, and not enough people are making that point. And Arsenal fans are now going through what we've been through, and they're probably feeling the same way. And it's in some ways it's probably better for them now that it's pretty much over with, and they know it's over, because it saves them from the next few weeks of looking at City's results and thinking, they might drop points here. Look at City's fixtures; they're not dropping any points, and you end up getting desperate. And you look at the fixtures and you go, well, they've got Wolves. Wolves did beat them a couple of years ago. You look at games where you think that might be tricky, and then they're 3-0 up after 15 minutes, and you're like, for fuck's sake. And at least Arsenal fans are not really they're not going to have to go through that over the next few weeks, because it's pretty demoralising.
Back to what you said.
Sorry, Chris. Just one thing as well. They're probably going to win. I've resigned them myself to they're going to win the European Cup this year. They're more likely to probably win the treble, the league, the FA Cup, and the European Cup. Manchester United's sacred special treble. And yet, if they win it, I don't think anyone's really going to give a shit. I've noticed a lot now that in comments, whether it be on social media or on match reports, I don't the devil is not being given its due anymore at Manchester City. I think the tide, like Dave speaks about, if they win this, it'll turn the tide. I think the tide's already started to turn. That people don't take them serious. They take, they obviously are going to win the league. They're winning everything, but I don't think people take them seriously as like these are going to go down as like that Manchester United team, possibly because that Manchester United team did it first. But also, there's just the big asterisk is so big now. It's like looming like the Death Star over them. It's too big to ignore anymore about how they've done this. And everyone, they basically they haven't ruined football, but they have ruined it for me because my interest in football has dropped massively because I just think, what's the point? They win everything. They win in everything. This isn't like Ferguson's United of the 90s or Wenger's Arsenal or even Mourinho's Chelsea. This is something we've never really seen in football where they are the dominant power financially and on the field. And it's just, at some point, you just sort of go, oh, they won again. Shrug. It doesn't, you become numb to it. It doesn't really matter because you just think, well, they cheat. Of course they've won.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that Arsenal have done this season, they've been what we've been for the last 3 or 4 years, and they're that team that that offer some resistance to stop the whole thing looking like an absolute fucking joke.
Yep.
Because Manchester City have 73 points after 31 games, which kind of by their standards is kind of a little bit below par for where they usually are, I think.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to get to mid-90s points this year or late 90s points. And Newcastle in third on the same number of games are 24 points behind them. So if you take Arsenal out of the equation, just like when you took us out of the equation, the whole league's a fucking joke. They're winning it by 25, 30 points every season.
Yeah.
10 wins, 9 wins. Like, it's just, it's already a complete formality if you take that one team out of the equation that somehow manages to break the paradigm and compete with them on at least a level to get close enough so Sky Sports can have their fucking title race. I saw people describing this game tonight as the game of the decade. I mean, did anybody in their right mind think that wasn't going to go the way it was going to go? I said to you after the first one in, like, they're going to get absolutely hammered here, and that wasn't me like being wise after the fact. It was just like a sense that was what was going to happen in that fucking situation. Everything was set up for it to happen, and yeah, it's frustrating, and I think until. It's never going to happen because the broadcasters are never going to stop shilling the product that they have paid hundreds and hundreds of millions for by devaluing it, by saying what City is doing is anything other than legitimate. That's what it comes down to, really. They're not going to start saying, well, City were magnificent here, but it's because they fucking cheated. Like, that just completely devalues what they paid all that money for. So, I know you've got like a few in the press fighting the good fight and stuff, but it's going to take the Premier League finding them guilty for anything to change. Otherwise, it'll just continue to perpetuate.
Yeah.
The Premier League might find them guilty because otherwise they're not going to have a competition to make all these billions from.
There you go. All right. Well, we've got a game at the weekend as well against Spurs. We're now above them in the table.
Rightfully so. They've had an awful season. How were they ever above us? I know we've had a shit season.
Yeah.
Their season's fucking terrible. And up until today, I've been ranting at people going like, "How are they above us? It's fucking crazy."
It really is.
Yeah.
Because they've been moaning from the start of the season. Spurs fans
they've had a terrible season. I don't know. They've been in fourth. It's fucking weird season.
Really is.
Crazy. I think that. I mean, they sacked the mad Italian fella, and poor-eyed Ryan Mason has been charged with making the best of a bad situation again until they appoint the successor, which probably won't happen until the summer now. But you'd like to think, Dave, that we continue our good run here and get a fourth straight win in Anfield on Sunday afternoon.
What happened with Spurs last weekend looked like players saying, right, let's get this fella out. And I expect them to be much better at the weekend than they were last weekend, but
they've got to play tomorrow night. Don't forget, they've still got a game to play.
Yeah, who do they play tomorrow?
Manchester United.
Okay, yeah, so we should win that comfortably on Sunday, really should. But I do think that Spurs against United are going to be a lot more. They've got. I mean, the players like refunded the fans, like the ticket prices. They gave all the fans the ticket money back, didn't they? So I do think there'll be a response from them against United, and I don't think they'll be like I don't think they'll roll over at Anfield, but I just don't think they're very good. I think we should beat them relatively comfortably because it's at home. We beat them at their place as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
So for the fact that we were able to beat them away, what does that tell you? Because our away form all season's been wretched. So yeah, anything other than a win on Sunday, I'd be very surprised.
Jules, we'll probably make some changes tonight. I can't imagine Hendo plays again. Maybe we'll see Diaz start on Sunday, and hopefully Konate maybe coming back in as well.
Yeah, again on the Konate thing. I wouldn't expect him to come back because you can never tell with the injuries. I think Thiago will come in for Hendo because Hendo can't play. I would say the front three will be the same. I don't think Diaz will start. I think it'll be roughly what you saw today, except with Hendo out and Thiago in.
That's a problem now. Thiago coming in for Hendo, just not about ability wise, but you saw what happened tonight. Thiago came on and he was playing like more central than Trent.
Well, if you want my white hot take, if we can sell him in the summer, I would. Thiago.
I thought everything slowed down when he came on tonight. I thought we got a bit passive and
I think
pedestrian again.
At his age, where I don't think he's ever really fully fitted into what we wanted to do.
The fitness is well, isn't
he? Yeah, the fitness is the thing. It's all right saying how great he is, but if he's never playing, then it's kind of pointless.
This new system doesn't particularly suit him either, unless he's playing in Fabinho's role. I don't think the other positions really suit him.
I'd be massively concerned if Henderson started, so I think he has to play.
Yeah, I agree, but I do think that
maybe Naby Keita will play.
I think he is back in training, or this week.
No, I think he's done. I think he's done now. I don't think you'll see him.
I think Harvey might play, right? You could bring Thiago in where Curtis plays on the left side of the three, and then you could bring Harvey in to play where Hendo plays.
I don't know if they'd want to play Elliott and Jones in the same midfield.
No. You know who's actually
instead of Jones.
But who's a good fit for that position that Hendo plays in on paper? It's a good fit, like the attributes that he's got.
Are you going to say Darwin?
No, I'm going to say Ox.
Oh God.
And I'm not saying we should play Ox because I don't want Ox.
No, he's done as well.
But that position, like his skill set, kind of does fit that position that Hendo's been playing.
No, he's done.
But yeah, I know he's done, and I wouldn't play him. But like I'm just saying on paper. But the game's played on grass, so I wouldn't be picking him.
Is it played on grass anymore? Isn't it like this hybrid shit now? It's mostly artificial, isn't it?
It still looks like grass. Anfield's still grass, isn't it?
It's like half weave now, isn't it? It's not. It's half artificial now these days.
Like Kloppo's hair.
Well, right. That's where Frank could learn from Klopp.
Yeah.
Who's your hair guy?
Yeah. There's a lot that Frank could learn from Klopp.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, but he shouted at him once, though, remember? That got him the Everton job.
Yeah.
It's on his CV, told Klopp to fuck off.
Oh, man. All right. Well, that's a good place to leave it, I think. Anything else that you guys want to go before we round it off tonight?
No, I think we're done, aren't we?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Nice. All right. Thanks, guys. And yeah, nice rare away win for us tonight. Things are looking up again a little bit, I guess you could say. 3 wins in a row in the Premier League and definitely a winnable game coming up at Spurs at the weekend. Dave and the boys will be back immediately after that one, but until then, we'll catch you soon.
Well, the best word I can say, but will describe this was boom. Ooh, what was this? It was really good.